Welcome back to the Best Ball Boardroom. I cannot believe that it is August 28th. The next football game we see will be real action. We are done with the preseason. We are done with the summer of drafting. This might be our final Best Ball Mania stream. We've got the 555 already closing. We've got this at over 80%. We are down to the wire. We know this is the time when the casuals are coming out to join us, so we cannot let off the gas, pedal to the metal, keep going forward. And I'm excited for who we got today. We are branching out again to the Instagram world. And this is one of the best guys, one of the biggest guys over there from Upper Hand Fantasy. You can find his work over at Upper Hand Fantasy on Instagram. He's got the Upper Hand Fantasy podcast. He is a wizard with fantasy football and player takes. And I am pumped. Please welcome Faraz Siddiqui. How's it going?
Hey, Justin. Appreciate you having me, man.
Cheers. Welcome. And so we were talking a little before the show. Obviously, you're doing best ball. You're kind of deep in the weeds, but a week and change into the season. What does the next week look like for you? What's kind of the craziness?
Well, you know what? I was on vacation with my wife for a couple of weeks. We felt guilty, so we had a guilt trip with the kids this weekend. All right. So now I'm really feeling the pressure, right? On this Monday, coming back, I'm feeling the pressure. We only have a week and change left, like you said. It's getting crazy. Okay, the DMs are piling up. The drafts. I probably have a draft almost every day this week. So things are heating up, man. As you know.
Are you doing any slow drafts, or are you just a fast draft kind of guy?
No, I do a lot of slow drafts with our community over on Instagram as well. So I have a bunch of those open too.
Because now we're getting to the craziness. The clock is going to start kind of ticking. We get the shorter clocks. I think Underdog's already started, I believe. Some of the other sites are a little slower to kind of get there, but yeah, I am not much in the slow drafts. I'm a just multi-table fast drafter. But today we're going to jump into Best Ball Mania. So I'm going to share my screen. We will get this going. If you're hanging out in chat, like Dan over here, afternoon gents, come join us. We're hopping in. What has been your kind of favorite tournament? Have you been doing more of just the kind of traditional best ball with the major playoffs, the BBM, some of the side ones? What have you been enjoying?
I've been doing several best ball manias, but the thing that I find the most enjoyable is just throwing out private drafts like to our community, right? Over on Upper Hand Fantasy, like just throw them out on my Instagram story. People join them and we draft, right? Because everyone's trying to kick my ass, right? Everyone's trying to, like say like Faraz, like you don't know what you're talking about. And listen, I'll be honest with you. There's been several times where I'm just like, damn, these teams are probably going to kick my ass. But yeah, no, like it's, depending on where I end up drafting and, if these guys snipe me or not, that's really where I find the most joy, even though I think hopefully the most bang for my buck will be from those tournaments.
There you go. What has been your kind is it player takes edge? Is it just kind of hunting that ADP value? What do you think is that? What do you lean into as your edge?
It's always ADP, man. Like, if something for me personally, like I don't hate players, I hate ADPs, right? So if there's players who for example, Breece Hall, like Ramondre Stevenson, Derrick Henry, these guys might be falling in ADP, right? Derrick Henry's not someone that I love this year, but like if you're gonna let me take him, at the end of the second round or something like that, like I'm gonna take him, man. You know what I mean? Like, even though I don't love him this year in a vacuum, but if you're gonna, let him drop to me, same thing with Breece Hall. If you let him drop to the fourth, even with Dalvin Cook there, I'm probably gonna snag him just for the upside.
So you mentioned Derrick Henry. We've seen Tyjae Spears has just been absolutely dynamic in the preseason stuff thus far. So one of the next gen stats, he's leading the league in kind of from an efficiency standpoint. Is that your concern? Is it more the age? Is it more just the entire offense? What's your kind of concern with Derrick Henry?
Well, Tyjae Spears, I'm a big fan of him, and all those metrics that you saw, that's just a continuation from college. Like the I guess the running quote unquote joke is him not having an ACL right now, but at the end of the day, like in college, even after his ACL tear, the year after, which we never see, we usually see a drop off there, he still was near the top of the FCS in yards after contact, missed tackles, force, all of that. Now, with Derrick Henry, though, my concern is, I've had this concern for a couple of years now, but he's been over the threshold for carries, in a career, over the threshold for age. He's well over that at this point, right? So that's partly the reason why I'm fading him more so because of the opportunity cost, because the other players around him, almost have equally, as high upside.
Yeah, I mean, when you looked at last year, he ended up with 349 attempts, did not play every game. I think he was on pace to kind of finish with like 470 or something, more than 450 rushes, just
Nuts.
insane. And then we see his actually highest receiving usage last year. We were on the clock at the 10 spot. AJ Brown's the lowest from an ADP. What are you kind of doing in this spot?
Yeah, I mean, I've been taking AJ Brown here personally. It's either AJ or CD for me here. I've actually moved Garrett Wilson up above a couple of these guys in my latest rankings, but I'm going playing the ADP game here.
Okay, so grab AJ Brown. Yeah, I'm pretty similar where in that first round, not trying to take major stands. I think the
No,
main stand that I've got this year is Austin Eckler over Travis Kelsey. And so that in itself has just gotten me like, I want to say something like 16, 17% Eckler. Maybe I'll give that a check.
interesting.
Are there anything in that first round that you're kind of going against the grain, going against the ADP?
Yeah, I'm actually going against the ADP on Eckler, actually.
Okay.
And that was early on. I'm a little bit higher on Eckler now. We actually just did the Eckler's Edge draft yesterday, which was a ton of fun. With him and a couple of great guys around the league. I think you're about to be on the clock here, but he's been one guy I've been a little bit concerned about the new offensive coordinator coming in. How does he use the running backs? Is this going to be a different type of game? Keenan Allen stays healthy. What does that target share look like? Couple of those concerns there.
Yeah, we'll go back to that in a second. We are on the
Yeah.
clock. There's Devontae if we want a wide receiver. There's Tony Pollard. There's Saquon. What are you thinking?
Man, like Pollard's just sticking out to me here. It's either him or Devontae Adams, but Pollard's really sticking out to me.
All right, I like that. Going with a little a in division rivalry there also gets us kind of that more flexibility going forward. We were just talking about
Austin Eckler.
Austin Eckler, right? So you have the Kellen Moore situation, and so for me with the Chargers, they ran like the fastest amount, most plays last year, averaging more than two snaps on an offense, greater than any other team. You then have Kellen Moore coming over. Kellen Moore already has a fast kind of pace, so I'm expecting him to keep that pace up. The average at the target aspects, that should help the entire offense. Definitely going to help Herbert. Quentin Johnson opening up kind of maybe a bit more of a deeper standpoint. Like, I like a lot of the things they did. Agreed with you. There's an added risk just from a unknown aspect when you bring in a new offensive coordinator. Does he have as many dump offs? Does Eckler have as many of those kind of where he's the primary receiver? I'm not sure, but I think I don't think he's given up goal line work, and that's what we were concerned about 2 years ago. And I think the entire offense just has the ability to kind of take that next step and be a top 3 from an offensive standpoint. I personally have Eckler in that tier with Cooper Kupp, Tyreek Hill, and Christian McCaffrey. But I get that there's that little risk of hey, the unknown with Kellen Moore coming in.
Yeah, totally. With the new OC and the previous new OC is really what changed it for Eckler, giving him all those goal line carries, right? He didn't have that, previously, even though, Melvin Gordon wasn't there yet. So that was my concern. I'm a little bit not as bullish on that take, as the season gets closer, simply because we haven't really seen Josh Kelly in with the ones like I thought we would potentially.
Yeah, I mean, I'd say a couple weeks ago, I've been on Josh Kelly. I think I have 8% of him on DraftKings, where you go to 20 rounds. You can get a little later there. Some people were concerned, no, Isaiah Spiller may actually have it. I kind of trusted a bit more what we saw out of Josh Kelly in those games Eckler missed last year. But does he actually spell him from a touchdown standpoint? I don't know. It's iffy. But hey, also, what am I passing on? I'm passing on old man Travis Kelsey. I don't know. I don't think I'm missing out on that much, but
yeah, I'm curious to see as we get closer who the tight ends that you're interested in, this season, and who you've been grabbing most this year.
We may grab one of my favorites. We'll see if Mark Andrews falls to us. But I've been very heavy on the entire Baltimore passing offense. Zay Flowers, Rashad Bateman are two of my highest owned wide receivers. I really think that third round aspect where, it's been just a weird spot of the draft. I put a tweet out earlier today about that. I think drafts are going to be won and lost in that third round because you've had these elite QBs taking that stand. What happens there is a big thing. We've had the running backs like Josh Jacobs, like Saquon Barkley, like Jonathan Taylor. where maybe you can get that falling value, whether you want to take that risk. I think we have a major drop off with the next tier of wide receivers where they have some upside, but they also have substantial question marks. So like how you maneuver that draft. And yeah, as Carlos is saying, Mark Andrews actually went on the 3.1 pretty early. So we will not be taking him. Lamar also going
I
early.
agree. I do agree though, man. Like this entire Ravens, not only am I high on the Ravens entire passing offense, but all of them are kind of underpriced to me. I'm even in on someone like J.K. Dobbins. Honestly, this entire offense, I think, is going to take a step forward, and I think that they're Andrews, Zay, and if I miss out on Zay, I'm perfectly fine taking a shot on Rashad Bateman. Later on, I don't think anyone's really high on Rashad Bateman. However, we know that he's a very good receiver. He profiles as a wide receiver.
We got 15
you're on the
seconds.
clock. You're on the clock.
You're good. Amari Cooper, Jahmyr Gibbs, the top of the ADP. Either of those jump out to you?
Jahmyr Gibbs does. I mean, he does. I don't know how often you start with 2 running backs and 1 wide receiver here, okay. But I kind of like Jahmyr Gibbs, the Tony Pollard combo there.
Yeah, no, I'm definitely okay with it. I mean, like, Josh Jacobs falling to 30 here is insane right now. I don't know why he's still falling, other than just like we know ADP lags a bit to really become efficient. And I think Josh Jacobs should be in half PPR format drafted like right after, maybe before Derrick Henry. In PPR formats, I've got him probably in this range around like 19-20. I think ETR even maybe a little more bullish than I am. I'm also very overweight on him already, but that's crazy.
I'm with you. Like right after Chris Olave, Devonta Adams off the board, around that Devontae Smith, Jalen Waddle range, I'm taking Jacobs before both of those guys personally.
Yeah, exactly. And the only reason like I wouldn't want to chase it up to there is because we've been able to get him so much at this like ADP of 30. Okay, we are back on the clock. Mike Williams, DeAndre Hopkins. We probably don't want to go running back at this point. We were talking about the Chargers. We can go Tennessee. We can go Green Bay. What are your thoughts?
Oh man, Christian Watson stands out to me here. He's the guy that I've actually been drafting a lot of Christian Watson, especially at his price in the 4th round. I think he has wide receiver 1 upside. Now, is that his floor? No, right? He's not being drafted anywhere close to his floor right now. I really think Christian Watson had the year 1 measurables, yards per route run, all the predictive stuff that we like to see. So I think he's just worth taking shots on wherever you can.
Yeah, he's a really tough one because if you look at kind of from his metrics and like when he was actually on the field, obviously like on a per target, per route run basis, like it was fantastic. He was extremely efficient. But even like after he had that breakout, he still wasn't getting like the actual usage and volume that we want to see out of a, top 40 draft pick. But if he can take that next step from a volume standpoint, his competition is Dobbs and Jalen Reed. Like, not actually, I think Jaden Reed. Not actually that concerning in my mind. So, like, hey, I think from a projections, there's a reason why ETR is probably a little lower on him from like a mean situation. But I get, hey, the upside if you want to draft him. Are you often stacking him with Jordan Love later on, or what's your kind of play there?
In best ball, yeah, I have, because there is a world where Jordan Love, his weapons are a little underrated here, right? Jaden Reed, I like him as a wide receiver. Did Romeo Doubs take a step forward, right? That's what I'm curious about, because I wasn't a fan of Romeo Doubs, but it seems like they have a connection here. So if they do, and he gets elevated a little bit, he did some offseason work, then we're looking at him. We're looking at Luke Musgrave, who's getting 100% of snaps right now, with the first team in preseason. It looks like he's getting all the run at tight end, which is super rare, for a rookie. But this could be an offense. Aaron Jones out of the backfield too, so it's possible that his supporting cast, can elevate him just a little bit. And if he's, potentially like somebody who's taking advantage of sitting behind Rodgers, we could be that is something that I've been doing, just as one of my late round QB stacks if I need one.
I'm sharing this tweet that I saw yesterday from Matt Schneidman talking about the Packers pass blocking snaps pressures allowed in preseason among top 7 O-line, and they are quote unquote by far and away NFL's best pass blocking grade in the preseason. So you love to hear that for especially a young unproven talent like Jordan Love. Getting a little more time, getting a little more production back there is huge.
And Christian Watson, having time to create that separation down the field.
Okay. So we've got 2 wide receivers, 2 running backs to start. Taking a look at what's going on in the rest of the draft. Nothing crazy from a 2 QB, 2 tight end standpoint yet. All right. We've got some injured Terry, but might be ready week 1. Damian Pierce has been getting absolute steamed. We are strong at running back. Maybe want to go wide receiver here. What are your thoughts?
What are your thoughts on Darren Waller here? Is this a little early for you to take him? I mean, he's somebody that I've been targeting.
My challenge is, so we've got 9 seconds. Let's reconsider with the next one. Which wide receiver would you want to go?
I'm going McLaurin.
Okay. So the challenge with Darren Waller at this point is, for the majority of BBM, he's been drafted at the 70s, the 80s, the 90s. So if you're talking about a private league where it's just like you and, hey, 11 people and you're only competing against them, then I think Darren Waller can definitely be drafted here. But when you're competing in a larger tournament like the BBM, even if Darren Waller has that absolute amazing season and this team is able to kind of project, hey, advance the playoffs, you're going against so many other teams where we're getting Waller at 3-4 rounds of value different than you.
I love that. That makes a lot of sense. Terry, speaking of stacks earlier, you know what stack I like better than Watson and what's his name? Jordan Love.
Is it Sam Howell?
Yeah, McLaurin and Howell, dude. Like,
hey, Howell.
I'm a Howell guy.
Okay. Howell has looked great in preseason. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, he was that guy, right, in North Carolina before his senior year when he had nobody. So I'm somebody who's been high on Howell, and the fact that he's getting an opportunity now, he was named the starter a while ago. I like it.
He's one of the rare guys as well that you can actually expect to, hey, have some top 5, top 7 QB weeks because of that rushing upside he has. Tyler Lockett feels like just a great value, especially with JSN maybe missing a decent amount and we need wide receiver. Are you good with that, or are we going to go somewhere else?
Do it. I love Lockett here.
Okay. So if we look at our team, though, we kind of got to think about stacks later on. We could maybe do something with Geno. We've talked about both the Jordan Love and the Sam Howell there. Maybe a 3 QB build. It's getting a little interesting because we don't have a tight end either, but we'll be able to figure it out.
How high are you on these rookie tight ends? Obviously, you might not want to depend on them, right? But are you looking at these rookie tight ends as potential tight end 2s that could have a little bit of a ceiling here? So, one thing I've been doing personally is I've been targeting someone like Pat Freiermuth. Later, if I miss out on guys like Waller, and obviously if he's going this high, you might not want to take him. But guys like Freiermuth, and then potentially another rookie tight end later, maybe we talked about with Jordan Love stack, right? If we want to bring in the rookie there, potentially Musgrave, that could be an option too. Just curious what your thoughts are on that.
Yeah, so for me, I think that this has been a good year to really focus on getting 3 late tight ends. And a lot of the reason has been throughout the entire summer, if you looked at what was available in the 16th, 17th, 18th round, you had running backs that may or may not even be the number 2s on their team. You had wide receivers that are just really dusty plays that we can't, sure they're going to be on the field, but their chance of actually getting a Zay Jones type season, actually being a core part of that offense, is minimal. You could grab QBs, but I didn't love it as much. But the tight ends there were the guys that we should have expected to rise throughout the season, were the guys that we actually could have a wide range of outcomes and maybe provide us some value. And it's the easiest for a late tight end on a weekly basis to finish as a top 3 at that position compared to a late QB. Jimmy Garoppolo is rarely ever going to be a top 3 competing against the Josh Allens and such. But it's very plausible that Mark Andrews has a 4 for 40 game and a tight end has a touchdown and 30 yards and surpasses him. So
100%.
In general, that's what I've been doing. However, Pat Freiermuth I actually like a lot because I think he's just been mispriced all summer. Because I think his actual style, his metrics, he has that kind of breakout on a single play basis. We've seen Pittsburgh just last year had so much trouble even getting to the red zone, but this year, Pickett has looked great. They've been in those 3 games. So I like Freiermuth, and when I do that, it gives me more confidence that I can now wait to round 17 and 18 and grab 2 more later and feel pretty good about that.
Makes sense. Makes sense. I love it. So that gives me a little confidence that I've been doing something right.
No, I
This
like that. I
offseason.
like that. I like that a lot. Okay, coming back around, we've got 4 wide receivers, 2 running backs, a whole bunch of running backs, and a QB just went in front of us. Let's see. I don't think we need to be reaching on any quarterback situation here. These are the type of tight ends that I've just mostly been fading because, yes, I get that on a 1 week, like they have more upside. But when I'm comparing against other wide receivers I can get here, like if you do a 2v2 of Marquise Brown and Hunter Henry versus Kyle Pitts and I don't know, whoever literally drafted in the last round, Josh Downs, like
wide
right.
receiver wise, right?
Yeah, I'm so much rather kind of paying at the wide receiver at this basis. Okay.
Okay.
We are back. I like David Montgomery a lot. I don't
Me
have
too.
much DeAndre Swift, but that could be interesting. We have AJ Brown. Could also grab another wide receiver. What are your thoughts?
I'm looking at Montgomery here, simply because
we
of the touchdown.
We do have
upside.
Gibbs though. We have Gibbs. Sorry.
Oh, we do. Yeah,
is
you're right. Let's see. I think Swift might be the pick here.
Okay.
I like Swift.
I'm okay with it. I do not have much DeAndre Swift. I've just been kind of concerned throughout the year on what that role would be, but like the news has been positive. He may have a larger role than we expected, and his ADP hasn't adjusted. So this is the time where I think it actually makes sense to kind of increase my exposure to him because I'm not paying a premium for what has been drafted all summer, but we're taking in that new amount of information to help us kind of make a more informed decision.
Yeah, it seems like, and I don't know how much smoke is behind Kenny Gainwell, but it seems like he is pretty active with the first team, and it might be him over Rashad Penny, unless the entire preseason usage with the first team is just all smoke. So it is possible that I'm just curious. Have you been looking at Kenny Gainwell late in drafts?
I'll touch on that in a second. We are back up. We have some value with Kyle Pitts. We now have 3 Philly guys. So I don't think we want Goddard. Or there's these wide receivers, Quentin Johnston, Brandon Cooks.
Since we're coming back around, like I wouldn't love to reach here. The guys that I'm looking at here is Brandon Cooks and Elijah Moore. Like those are the guys that stand out to me.
Yeah, let's do it. I mean, Brandon Cooks is honestly a little ADP value there. I like it as well. We've got this Dallas-Detroit game going, and so now I think Dak is a pretty good QB target for us. Given we grab Cooks, we have Pollard, we have the Jahmyr Gibbs bring back for week 17, so I like that a lot. Kenneth Gainwell. Yeah, Kenneth Gainwell is one of my highest owned running backs, and I was just drafting him a ton when his ADP was like 170. It didn't make sense why he was going so cheap when there was just so much ambiguity in that backfield. And even as like things have played out more, obviously his ADP has risen, but like I still think like he could be the 2-minute back. He could be heavily used in goal line. I think in general, we just expect that Philly is a smart team. They're not going to have a workhorse back. It's going to be scattered throughout, similar to they did with Sanders and Gainwell and Boston Scott in the past. And give me the cheapest part of that in Kenneth Gainwell. And so that's why I've been quite overweight on him.
Yeah, and that's super smart, right? Just attacking ambiguous backfields. I've done that throughout the offseason, but for some reason, I had a take lock this entire offseason on Rashad Penny getting that early down role, and then DeAndre Swift playing early downs, sprinkling in on early downs, and obviously having the passing down receiving role, right? So I'm looking at that like, okay, that's what's going to happen, right? But that was a mistake, right? I really have to step back and say like, all right, is this an ambiguous backfield or not? Right. And the fact that Rashad Penny only signed for what he did, very, very low contract, it's not like Philly had any sort of, guarantee that he was going to get that role.
Yeah. All right. Strategy question for you. Louis F zone here. Went Travis Kelce in the first, Devonta Smith, Jalen Hurts. Got that nice stack here. Could have grabbed Dallas Goedert with pick 92, which would have been about a round and a half of ADP value. Although he already has Kelce, would you have taken Goddard as your strong second tight end to continue to stack? Or is that too much capital for you if you've already got Kelce?
No, man, I think I'm okay with that, honestly, because, I don't think Dalvin Cook is a player that I'm really targeting a whole lot, even at that price, to be honest with you. I think Breece Hall is going to be very involved now. Dalvin Cook, if Breece Hall were to go down, he's going to have his games regardless. But yeah, I think I probably would have went with that stack there. Was Goddard still was Goddard? Yeah, Goddard was there. The pick
Yeah,
right
he got
before.
picked the
Yeah,
next board. So,
I probably would have just to kind of make my team a little bit more differentiated.
yeah, Goddard's ADP is around 77, 78, I believe. So not taking him here when you go Rashad White, I think that makes sense because you already had Kelsey. But when then he falls back to you at that 92, I think that's when, yeah, I would say, hey, I'm going with an elite and a very good tight end. I'm getting that stack going. Maybe Kelsey gets you through to week 17 by having huge weeks 15 and 16. And Goddard is the one with a stack that gets you in that championship week or vice versa. I think that's what I would have done, but worth kind of discussing those strategic aspects.
For sure.
Okay, looking at the QBs, because that's where we are lightest right now. We've got Dak on the radar, which would be that kind of Dallas-Detroit game stack we've been building around. We could do Geno. Let's see, Geno's ADP is 113, so we'd probably have to go the 111. That's not the worst. How do you kind of play QB in this area?
Let's see what else we have here. Who else is available there? So we have
a wide receiver. You got Treylon Burks, and then a bit of a drop off.
Yep.
Running back Charbonnet. We could go Charbonnet. I mean,
nothing too crazy there. What about quarterback?
Quarterback, we got a bunch here. Daniel Jones, Anthony Richardson, Kirk Cousins, Dak Prescott, Geno are all in that same bunch.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I do like Dak here, probably the best. I could go Geno, but if Dak is available here, 105, where we're picking 106. Yeah, if Dak is available here, I'll probably go with him.
We get the 106. Yeah, we've got right at ADP here, and then if we wanted to go Geno and the double tap over here, that'd be a couple picks before ADP. Let me see where JSN and such are. Yeah, we're not competing with any Seattle owners with this over here, and they've already got at least one QB each. So
interesting.
I think there's a decent chance we can get Dak and Geno if we wanted.
I like that because this range doesn't excite me a whole lot anyway for these skill players.
This is where I love getting QBs because there's you have the tier drop off at wide receiver. Really, after Treylon Burks, I think there's a strong drop off from an actual kind of upside and expected role. If you look at running backs, I do like running backs in this area, but majority of the ones have actually moved up around before. This is where we used to be able to get Brian Robinson and Antonio Gibson. It's where we used to be able to get like Khalil Herbert and some of these others. But yeah, it now just feels like the QBs. And then after this tier for QBs, you get down to Russ and Goff and Pickett. There's another tier drop that you really don't want to miss out on. So Geno, this worked out well?
I think so.
Okay, awesome.
Love it.
I think this is playing well. So let's get a recap on what we've drafted so far. We just took Dak and Geno. Our running backs, Tony Pollard, Jahmyr Gibbs, DeAndre Swift. Pollard gives us the Dallas. Detroit is the Week 17 bring back. And then we've got wide receivers, A.J. Brown, Christian Watson, Terry McLaurin, Tyler Lockett, Brandon Cooks. 2 stacks there with Lockett and Cooks. Maybe we can keep an eye out on a pick guy. I don't think Freiermuth will fall to us, but that'd be a nice bring back for the Seattle. There goes Freiermuth right there. But that was expected. That was expected. Whew. All right.
Now, let me ask you this now. Have you been, how often have you been going quarterback early, right? Like, obviously you want to, if those stacks present themselves, right? Are you looking for those early stacks? Do you think that that's something that, are you more overweight on doing that? Or are you more overweight on taking these later quarterbacks around this range?
Yeah, so Patrick Mahomes, I have virtually none of. And that's because, as I mentioned, I don't get much Travis Kelce. And when I do get Travis Kelce, I'm not reaching for Mahomes here. And then he doesn't fall back. So, like, it is what it is. Jalen Hurts and Josh Allen, I do have a decent amount of because I think in this mid-third, they're kind of the best available once if you don't want to go to that wide receiver tier, which is right for me. I love to stack Devonta and Hurts if possible. With Allen, earlier on in the summer, I've been really heavy. I was a lot more heavy on him because you could get like Gabe Davis to fall to you. Now it's a little tougher because Gabe Davis kind of goes in this middle of the 6th. So the later I can get Josh in the 3rd, the more likely I am also to take him because I can get Gabe to fall back to me in the 6th.
What happened to Gabe? What happened to his ADP? He was going a little bit later, wasn't he? Like,
It
where
was.
does
So
the hype come from?
I think DeAndre Hopkins is one of it. Initially, there was that thought that, hey, maybe they're going to sign another guy. They're going to bring in DeAndre Hopkins, and that kind of hurt him. I think the second is you just kind of realize that, hey, he is going to be an every down player on the potentially best passing offense in the league. And then you the kind of the continued soundbite is, aren't we getting the same Gabe Davis that we talked about last year, but we're getting him 3 rounds later? And last year, like, his production was hampered by him having that high ankle sprain that really lingered. He should be healthier this year. I think that's a little bit of a cautions. I don't know. I think there's a cautions tale there where you're not accounting for the additional information that we have of last year with him not breaking out. But I think that's what it is just like people wanted to get more of that Buffalo offense. And he seems like a very safe, substantial upside type of play.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. And I liked him going 3 rounds, later, sometimes 4 rounds, depending on the league that you were in, basically based on the same type of upside that he had last year. I was out on Gabe Davis last year at ADP. This year, I'm more in on him this year, but it seems like his price is rising just a little bit.
It is. Okay. So this is a part of the draft. It really, like, that round 11, round 12 feels a little just gross. We don't need QBs anymore. We're really good there. Running backs, you got Elijah Mitchell, Jerick McKinnon, Damian Harris. Just going to throw some guys in the queues. Wide receiver, you got Jacoby Myers, Darnell Mooney, some ugly names there. We don't have any tight ends yet. Not that you really want to grab a tight end now. What are you doing in this area?
How are we looking at tight end again? Who did we grab?
We have no one right now.
Or we didn't have anybody. Okay. Yeah, right. I'm not feeling any of these guys. Okonkwo is somebody, but it's really about if you're willing to do like a Ryan Tannehill type of stack. I think Okonkwo can still, do his thing with Hopkins there. I'm not convinced that because Hopkins is there now, it's Hopkins, then Treylon Burks, then Okonkwo. It's possible that he's a second target there. I wouldn't be surprised.
So I'll push for Elijah Mitchell here. I'm a big fan of Elijah Mitchell. I think his value is because of the injury that he sustained earlier, but sounds like he's going to be good there. I think it's pretty clear he's the number 2 back in San Francisco. And even with, CMC fully healthy, I think Elijah Mitchell is going to have a clear role. Even started being used a little more in the passing game in the preseason this year, which is great to see. And it gives us a Terry McLaurin bring back for that week 17. I think we're at a spot where if we wanted to stop with 4 running backs, we could. We could also probably say, hey, let's grab a late 5th one or something. But I feel pretty good about that area.
Okay. Yeah, I'm okay stopping at 4 too, unless there's some value that drops to us.
That sounds good.
Not huge on taking Damian Harris also. So you took him out the queue that I saw that. Okay.
I'm going to okay. I was going to consider Laporta because it would have been more to the Dallas-Detroit bring back.
Oh, yeah.
It's ugly. There's just not much here.
I was in on DJ Shark a little bit, late, but his ADP, rose a ton over the last couple of weeks, but now he's hurt. So that doesn't sound exciting to me at all. Jaden Reed is somebody that, we could, if we're considering Jordan Love, but we did grab those 2 quarterbacks here. Are we staying with 2?
We got 5 seconds. I got Gallup in the queue for the stack.
Do it.
Okay. I think we stay with 2 because I think Dak and Geno's a pretty solid 2. I'm not sure how much we're going to gain with a 3rd one. And also we're pretty heavily stacked in the Dallas side and minorly stacked in Seattle. And maybe this seems like a Noah Fant team as well with our 3rd tight end. Okay. And so the more I am correlated, the more I'm stacked with a 2 QB structure, the more I'm okay with saying just stick with it because we're counting on those positional players to have big games. If they have big games, big seasons, their QBs do as well. Yeah.
Makes sense. I like that. Okay. So so scroll down a bit on our team for a sec, if you don't mind. Pollard, Gibbs. Okay. AJ. So we're at 6 wide receivers, no tight ends, and 4 running backs. Okay, cool.
Correct. And we're done with QB, we're saying. So it's probably going to be a 2-4-7-3.
Okay.
Which that gives us 2 actual more roster spots. So you could even say 2-4-8-3, like 2-5-8-3 probably makes the most sense, given our structure.
Right. And the guy that's standing out to me that I'm thinking that if he falls to us, like Adam Thielen, like it's funny, Shark, Bingo, Adam Thielen, all going back to back to back here in ADP. But to me, Thielen was targeted on 50% of those routes, right? This past game, with those wide receivers banged up, and he got a touchdown too. Like Thielen, to me, seems like somebody who stands out of this entire group.
Yeah, I've been out on Thielen for most of the summer. Dude's just old, but you
Yep.
are right. He has been used
I've been
crazy
out on him
amounts
too,
in the
man. I've been out
preseason.
on him too. Like Mingo was my guy, and I thought he was going to get the slot role. I thought
Yep,
Mingo was going to get the slot role
that
here,
looks
just
like
because I
Thielen.
think that's where he was going. But now Thielen has the slot role, so
Yeah.
you know,
Matt Harmon, who does reception perception, obviously like Mr. Wide Receiver guy.
mhm.
He did a podcast. I think he has it on his Twitter where he talked about that. He was out on Thielen, but has turned his course a bit more recently. And it may be the same thing that we're seeing with Allen Robinson, because Robinson's might someone we get in the very end. But like these older guys moving into the slot, and while they weren't able to be too effective in the outside and get that separation, you put them in the slot, and now they can actually win. And that's what we're seeing with Thielen. Thielen goes. Louis F. Stone grabbed him, but worth at least discussing. I agree. Thielen might be a guy that maybe I increase my exposures to over the next week, as ugly as it sounds.
Yeah, for sure, man. In one of my drafts that I just did recently, like I didn't draft too many wide receivers, and he was the guy I had to grab later on just to kind of hold it down a little bit. Um, Yeah, Mingo, is a little bit intriguing as well, just because it's a little ambiguous there. Adam Thielen isn't a bill of health either, out of the later round wide receivers around this spot.
Yeah. Okay, I think we can grab some tight ends. I do like this area. Chig, Gerald Everett, Juwan Johnson. I like them all. There's been a lot of buzz in the Juwan Johnson side of things.
Yeah.
I'm thinking like maybe grab Ferguson with the second one. But what are your thoughts? Juwan, Chig, Gerald Everett.
Well, Jake, I think I usually will take Chig over Jake Ferguson. However, since we got the Dallas stack, might
So
as well.
we'll grab Jake with the next. Chig or Juwan Johnson?
Sure. Chig.
Okay, cool. All right, so we've got Chig, and I agree with Jake Ferguson. I think we're just going to be able to get him at the next pick.
That makes a lot of sense. No,
Both
for sure.
the ones out here already have two tight ends. I doubt they would reach for an unstacked later ADP tight end, but maybe one of them would have reached for Chig if that's who we wanted.
It's interesting, Juwan and Derek Carr apparently have a great rapport, and they brought in, old man, Graham, and he actually did pretty well. Like he looks okay. What a series of events, right? Like he was just on the highway, something was going on with him, mentally or physically, and then he plays in this preseason game, right, and actually does pretty well, and looks like he might make the squad. So this could be interesting for Juwan. I'm really curious to see if, that route participation does decrease for Juwan Johnson just a little bit, even in the red zone, could make an impact.
I mean, here's my theory. We know how much love there was for Taysom Hill for the past couple of years. He's got that amazing contract. Sean Payton leaves. I think they're like, you know what? Taysom, we're giving you all the competition. We brought in Derek Carr. We got Jameis Winston. We got multiple QBs you got to compete against. Oh, you want to be a running back? Don't worry. We'll bring in Jamal Williams. We're going to draft Kendra Miller. We used to have Alvin Kamara back. You're doing nothing. Oh, you want to play tight end? Don't worry. We're going to bring in Foster Moreau. We're going to keep Juwan Johnson. We're going to bring in Jimmy Graham. You remember that guy?
Right. Yeah.
All right. We'll grab Jake Ferguson. Get that Dallas stack going.
I'm probably also taking Juwan here in normal situations over Jake. I was pretty high on Jake like early on. Like I was taking him with my last pick because he wasn't being drafted in some instances. But he's somebody who was near the top of the league in yards per route run. Very, very, very small sample size. However, we saw a little bit of that ability flash. Dalton Schultz leaves. I think Dalton Schultz was a little bit of a product of Kellen Moore and Dak Prescott. So I just thought that Jake Ferguson, could be doing his thing with Dak Prescott. He loves tight ends, right? So he could definitely pan out there. So I do like that Dak Cooks, stack there, along with Jake Ferguson.
Yeah, I agree with you. In a vacuum, I'm taking Juwan Johnson higher. And you referenced the Derek Carr connection. There was the report where Derek Carr told his brother, "Hey, if you're going to draft someone, draft Juwan Johnson."
Right.
And those are always kind of a fun little where there's smoke, there's fire. There's got to be some kind of connection there.
For
It's
sure.
better than Matthew Stafford not knowing the names of any of his,
I
young
know. I
teammates.
saw
But
that. Oh, I did not want to hear that. I was like, oh no, please don't
hey,
retire. I drafted way too much Cooper Cup.
no, that means that's the best thing. Because if he doesn't know any of the young guys, then that just
Oh
means
yeah,
that means Cooper Cup's getting 200. Oh, I know that guy. Okay.
yeah. The first thing I thought, I was like, Matt's just like, hey man, look, I'm just gonna hang him up. I think I'm done.
Yeah. Oh, I
I just
mean,
don't want the games to not be fun for him anymore. You know what I mean? His team's not going to be good. It's going to be him and Cooper Cup just putting up monster numbers, but that's about it.
I think the team's going to be bad. I think they believe the team's not that bad. And
Mm,
so at least going into the season, like you have Stafford. And so, like, I don't know. I'm still fine with Stafford. I think the Stafford Cup connection is going to be very strong. I think, especially
right.
from a PPR landscape, like Cup is probably going to be averaging more than 10 targets a game.
Yeah.
It's going to be insane. Yeah, I don't know. There's definitely risk. There's that back aspect. Unfortunately, I think his wife may have gone back into into potentially cancer aspects. So like there might be some
Oh, really?
personal. Yeah, I think she went into remission a few years back, but it may have
Right.
popped back up. So
Oh, that's
that's
sad
obviously
to hear.
sad, but yeah.
That's sad to hear. Yeah.
Okay.
Let's see which wide receivers are available at this point, because
Curtis
we wanted
Samuel.
we wanted to grab a couple more, didn't we?
Yeah, we need two more wide receivers. Really, we're looking at one more tight end, two more wide receivers, one more running back, and we got really our choice throughout this.
Were you
Um,
thinking about you were thinking about Noah Fant late, right, to complete
Noah
that
Fant
Geno?
and Allen Robinson, I think, could make sense in a week in around 17, 18, which would
Mm-hmm.
mean like, hey, running back and wide receiver here. I do like Curtis Samuel a lot.
Okay.
I don't think there's a running back we need to reach for here. What are your thoughts
No.
on from Curtis Samuel?
Yeah, I'm okay with Samuel. He's someone that looked at Rashid Shaheed here, but I'm cool with Samuel to have his games.
Okay. We've also got a little invest in that Washington San Francisco already because now we've got Terry, we have Samuel. Think
It seems
Howell's.
like you have these stacks up here up here
Oh,
already. It's just
you
all
got
locked in.
you got it. When you for the best ball mania because there's so much money in that week 17, you really just kind of got to have like get these mini stacks, get these full stacks, know what that correlation is.
Oh yeah.
All right, so that's 2 4 7 2. One note for tight end is we have two bye week sevens. So just as we
There
go
you go.
forward, make sure we don't touch on that landmine. Any of these running backs jump out at you? Chuba Hubbard.
Clyde Edwards-Helaire, he's running with the ones, man. He's somebody that you look at Deontay Foreman as well, and then Fournette. Have you been drafting any of him? I just feel like he's going to land somewhere where he's going to get some opportunity. But at the end of the day, it's a little tough to say.
Okay, we got 15 seconds for a running back. I'm good with Chuba. I'm good with CH. I'm good with Ty Chandler. Hit me with what you want.
I think I'm going CEH here.
Okay.
Just based on what I've seen in the preseason.
Looking right now. We could also grab Shaheed and just say I'm going to grab Shaheed. I'm going Shaheed.
Yep.
You mentioned him earlier. You like Shaheed. I don't need to like lock in this like Allen Robinson week 18 if we've got a substantially better player. I think we can probably still get CEH at that 202, which is where his ADP is exactly.
Okay.
And now we've got 2482. We obviously still need that tight end. We'll throw in Noah Fant in, but there's lots of other options if he ends up getting sniped. And then running back, I think CEH, but also this is the time of year where I also love drafting these running backs that haven't been drafted all year.
Right.
You look, you got Josh Kelly. He looked pretty good as the number 2 without Eckler. If Eckler gets hurt, we got Kieran Williams, who sat out every preseason game, and the Rams liked him last year. Chris Evans seems to have won the pass catching role. We know that was valuable for Samaje Perine. Sean Tucker maybe is moving into that kind of competition with the ones, with the twos, maybe with event head of Keyshawn Vaughn. I don't know. But like this is the area where it's like I can always find a late running back this close to the season that I think is going to at least be the number 2.
Yeah, 100%. And Josh Kelly seems like the clear number 2 also, right? And that's not something we've seen with the Chargers over the last couple seasons. It's been pretty ambiguous behind Austin Eckler, but this year it just seems a little bit more clearer.
Yeah. And it's hard to tell, but like this was almost all like there was one or two big starts he had. Let me go to a game log real quick. We can see Kelly game log 2023. But and I think it was like one or two games of action that Eckler didn't play. Josh Kelly looked pretty strong.
Mixed in both the run and the rushing and receiving games, right?
Yeah. All right. Let me share this tab now. So this is the Josh Kelly from last year. Yeah, I mean, was even averaging two plus targets a game. I thought so. I guess it was just these games here where he had the touchdown and had 10 plus carries. I don't remember
You
actually.
might have been thinking about 2020,
I might
2021. I'm
have.
sorry.
Yeah, that's possible.
2021. That was with who was their OC? He's now the OC. I'm sorry. Yeah, he was now the run game coordinator for I think the 49ers. I forget his name. But he did have a couple of really good games in 2021.
That's right. I may have been mistaken. But overall, like, hey, I still like him. I agree that he is the kind of clear number 2 there. And we've got to go back to the other screen. Okay. Take a look at the board. What have happened as we've been gone? Stafford, Kyler Murray, late picks there. We see a couple tight ends. Cole Turner, one of those tight ends who has kind of flashed in preseason. We know Washington loves using their tight end position. Young, athletic guy. And if you're not really scared of Logan Thomas, I think Bates is their other tight end. Like, I've seen a little buzz around the Cole Turner, especially the rapport he's had with Howell in preseason.
Yeah, 100%, man. I think there is a little bit of. I think we should definitely pay attention to him. I had a Washington beat reporter come on to my podcast, and he said the same thing, man. He just JP Finley said that Cole Turner is somebody that you should look out for. It's very possible that he ends up winning the number 1 job there. That's not what he said, but I think it's possible, just based on what we've been seeing in preseason and the fact that Logan Thomas just he hasn't been healthy for a little while now.
Yeah. All right. CEH went at the 199 here. We've got 2 more picks until we are back up. Let's see. Desmond Ritter goes there. Chuba Hubbard, Josh Kelly, Ty Chandler. Still lots of guys that I'm pretty content with. I'd probably rank them something like Chuba, Ty, Kelly, one of those. We do have Watson, so that actually bumps up the Ty Chandler because Minnesota, Green Bay, week 17. We could just grab Noah Fant and then take our chances with the running back after. What do you think?
Yeah, I say. I mean, Ty Chandler seems to be like a 3-down handcuff right now to Madison, right? So, and they pass the ball more than any other team in the league. So, I think Ty Chandler has to be the pick here.
Okay, awesome. I love that. We have been heavy on the Ty Chandler all summer. Evan Silva was kind of one of the earliest touting him. And yeah, the reports are from the coaching staff last year that they liked him last year. He had an injury early on. I think it was either during or shortly after the preseason. They weren't able to get him on the field much. But my thought is they were willing to leave Dalvin Cook. They were willing to ride Alexander Madison because I think they kind of trusted what they had in Ty Chandler behind him.
Yeah, it's interesting, man. I mean, I don't know how much of a good camp that he had, but when we saw him in preseason, he looked good, man, for a second straight year.
Game, yeah. And the game that he had primarily was using the passing game, was great in blocking, was turning 3-yard rushes into 7, was turning -2 into 4. It was a really solid game from him. I like it. We grabbed Noah Fant with the last one to get that extra correlation. Perfect. I'm pretty happy with this team. Let's do a review. I want to hear your thoughts. So QB, we've got Dak and Geno. How you feeling?
I like it. I mean, I've been targeting this kind of range as well, like whether it's Dak or, if I have, I've been doing a little bit of Jordan Addison, Kirk Cousins as well. If I'm not super high on TJ Hawkinson this year, especially at his price, but I've been doing a lot of Addison. I've been mixing in Madison there as well with Kirk Cousins. So that range I do like. So I'm very happy with Dak, especially Geno, especially because we got a couple of these stacks going.
Yep, I love that. All right, running backs. We got Pollard, Jahmyr Gibbs, DeAndre Swift, Elijah Mitchell, Ty Chandler. Hey, 2 of the top 3 picks were running back, and then I feel like we got some solid ones the rest of the draft. I'll let you take wide receivers, where we started off A.J. Brown, Christian Watson, Terry McLaurin, Tyler Lockett, Brandon Cooks, Michael Gallup, Curtis Samuel, Rashid Shaheed. Absolute fire. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I agree, man. I love AJ Brown, Christian Watson connection. And I think, McLaurin, I think the fact that we're able to get him 4 spots after ADP, even with the injury, what I've heard from injury experts is saying that like he could potentially have a little bit of a dip week 1, week 2, but by week 3 he could be back
Yeah.
at to 100%. So I'm happy with that.
I think that's completely fair. And then tight end, it is definitely our weakest spot. We have Chig, we have Jake Ferguson, we have Noah Fant. Two of those guys directly correlated with our QBs, which is definitely what I want in late tight ends. Chig has that upside. Obviously, that's our weakest spot, but if I'm going to be weak, I'm okay with being weak at tight end.
Yeah, man. And those two guys, Ferguson and Chig, probably going to be running a route close to 85, 85% of dropbacks. So I'm happy with that. They're going to get their targets.
Yeah, if that happens with a Chig, then he's an absolute steal because the big question for him is whether or not he's going to be out in the field for more than 50% of the snaps. Because last year he wasn't, and when he was out there, when he was running routes, he had some of the best numbers from tight ends.
Exactly.
This year, a lot less competition back there at the tight end position. So can he take that big next step? Can he be the kind of deep threat, more like the deeper ball, not like an actual straight flank, but just kind of that more higher average at the target when you have Hopkins and Traylon Burks underneath. I think it's possible.
Yeah, Austin Hooper stood in his way his rookie year. Now he's going to stand in Michael Mayer's way, but he's out of the way now, right? So it's Chig, and so far what we've seen from him in preseason with the first team, he's running a route on the far majority of dropbacks. So I'm loving Chig at his price.
Awesome. Well, this was fantastic. I appreciate you joining us. What do you have going on the rest of kind of preseason over at Upper Hand Fantasy or throughout the regular season? Where can people find you?
Just continue to put out content, man. Upper Hand Fantasy on Instagram, the Upper Hand Fantasy podcast. We got that going during the season. We'll be going 5-6 days a week. Just to continue. Just make sure that we're on top of everything for you guys, right? That's basically what we're doing. So, just ton of content over there. Our main goal is just to make you make you win your league. That's what we're trying to do.
Absolutely. Love that. And you can find him personally on Twitter at Faraz Siddiqui and me at Justin Herzig. If you're going to be drafting the rest of these days, definitely keep an eye out for the news. Jonathan Taylor news should be coming pretty soon. The Colts gave that deadline for Tuesday. I don't know. I'm interested. This is the time, I think, to be drafting where you really have the casuals. Protect those stacks. Expect that the QBs are going to be sniping. And for me personally, you always can find me on Twitter. I've released the first of a new podcast in partnership with DraftKings. So we'll be doing that each week. You can find that in the podcast stores. Just search DraftKings and my name, Justin Herzig. And for everyone else in chat, appreciate you joining us, for watching this. Appreciate all of you. Best of luck in your home leagues and your best ball drafts and everything else you got going on. We are only 10 days away from having real NFL Thursday night football. I can't wait. Thanks for joining us, everyone. We will see you later.